This week's video is a follow-up video to our Stretch 101 video. We're gonna go over my stretching routine before I go climbing. It's designed to really help with specific climbing moves while also addressing some of my areas of weakness. So try this routine out. If you find you have any specific weaknesses or areas that are really tight on you, please comment right below and we'll try and make a follow-up video to address those issues. All right, so first we're just gonna look at some pre-measurements, essentially look at my mobility beforehand. I mean, not wonderful to start off, but we'll see how we do pre and post. We'll look at 3 different positions, basically the length of my hamstring, my ability to do that deep squat, and then finally that adductor length. So basically how wide I can go. Now I'm stopping basically once I feel a decent initial stretch of the tissue. So those are my pre-stretch values. Now we're gonna do a little bit of foam rolling. I'm just gonna concentrate briefly on some of the areas we're gonna be stretching. This can be done for longer than I'm demonstrating it today, but for brevity of the video, we'll just briefly go over a few different spots. I kind of like to just roll around. Don't think of it as 4 sides, but rather try and think of it just as covering the complete circle of the leg. So you'll see just some continuous movement so I can get back, side, front, inside, and all those corner aspects. Now, if you keep a foot on the ground while you're doing it, you'll take some of your weight off. If you stack the leg on top, obviously you're gonna get even more weight. You can use your arms to control the entirety of the movement. So here you can see not as much pressure, and then adding the foot on top, it's gonna add more pressure to the foam rolling. This is just gonna serve to warm the tissue up a little bit, give it a little bit of a pre-stretch, and get us prepared for the full stretching routine. So we'll finish off, I'm getting the piriformis here. It's nice to lean to that side, so I'm getting my left leg leaning slightly to the left to create more pressure. Right piriformis, you get some of the glutes as well, which will help to kind of open those hips up earlier on and benefit the stretches that we go into, particularly the pigeon pose and that hip internal rotation stretch. So we're done with that. For the first stretch that we're gonna do, I'm gonna use a band. Now a dowel works great with this. I just like this to kind of create a little bit of tension so that I keep my core nice and tight and I can create that tension throughout the body. We're making this dynamic because we're still kind of in the warm-up phase. Now, a lot of this will seem pretty dynamic. You'll see me doing about a 3 breath hold for most of these positions because I'm not trying to make this video take forever, but also I want to show you how just this quick routine, just about 10 minutes, can really open up those hips and get some really great improvements in our range of motion. So we're doing a few circles forwards and backwards until we move on to our next stretch. So this one is going to be that Garland's pose into a hamstring stretch, otherwise known just as the deep squat position. So I'm gonna actually get my arms inside my legs here so I can go into that kind of prayer position and stretch my hip open even wider. It helps me to balance when I'm not as loose and gets that bonus stretch. We're going into the straight leg hamstring stretch here before we go back down into the deep squat or Garland's pose. Now you'll notice 2 variations with the hamstring stretch. There'll be a straight leg version, then a bent leg version. Now the hamstring crosses over the knee, so you will be trying to straighten the knee in the other one, but by moving from the hip first, which you'll see in another second here, we're gonna create a different pull. Now in the Garland's pose, or that deep squat, I'm kind of moving my feet a little bit wider each time just so we focus on slightly different areas. So here's that modification. So you notice I grab under my feet so my knees are bent, and then I'm trying to straighten my legs out. So with that, I'm basically pre-stretching the origin, so where that hamstring originates on that ischial tuberosity, and then straightening from the insertion at the knees. Now, if you can get your leg all the way straight with that, you're going to want to just grab a little bit further down under your foot. So we go back into the Garlands, a little bit wider stance, holding there, getting some good breaths in. Eventually you want to try and get that posture a little bit straighter. But here, now we're going really deep underneath the feet, trying to straighten those legs out. So this is an amazing stretch because not only am I working from the opposite end of the chain, but I'm also engaging my quadriceps, which is going to help relax the hamstring muscles. So it's basically an agonist-antagonist reversal. So we're going to get a deep stretch with that. It's really going to open those hamstrings up, which you'll see towards the end of the video. So now we've done a couple reps of each there. We're going to go into this deeper runner's pose. Now this is going to really help with hip flexion. We want to get the chest down, but also open the chest up so that we're working on getting more rotation and mobility out of the hip as we go through here. Coordinate your breathing with that, and that's why I'm doing the voiceover for this, is because with this stretching, I don't want to just be talking the whole time. I want to be coordinating my breath with the movement. So as I go deeper, we work that breath to help us relax through it. That underarm stretch is a little bit of a bonus before we move into the pigeon stretch. Now, pay attention to, this is my left leg, pay attention to my left versus my right, and see if you can figure out which hip has given me more trouble that I've had to focus a little bit more on. As you go into the pigeon stretch, just try and breathe into it. I have my right hand on my heel to keep my foot in position. If your foot slides back underneath you, it becomes more of a hip flexor stretch on the other one, rather than working on the mobility of that hip. So I like to keep it in that position by holding my hand on the heel. So now we go into the right. So again, we get the chest down versus opening up. So we work different aspects of that hip mobility. Coordinating the breath with the movement will help you to kind of open up and relax a little bit more before we go into the pigeon pose. So this is where I want you to look, compare side to side again. If you can see, even in this position, I can probably get a little bit lower on that right side as I reach under, really trying to bring that chest down. Now you can imagine this is a great position for working on any of those high feet where you're trying to hike that leg up as high as you can. You don't want your hips stopping you as you go to get that high foot position while climbing. Now we got the pigeon stretch on the right side, and you'll see again the difference, and you can tell which hip I'm a little better with and a little more mobile with. So breathing, controlling that. I'm still holding my heel in position because I want to work on that rotation aspect as well. So we're working on multiple planes of mobility by holding the foot in position. If you haven't already figured it out, yes, my left side is the much tighter side that I'm working on. With this one now, the left leg isn't really doing much. This is about the right side. So I'm trying to work on my internal rotation. So it's going to open that capsule up even more, which will allow me to get even greater hip flexion range of motion and will allow me to move through some of these difficult maneuvers while climbing better without feeling any restriction. This is actually where the big trouble comes on my left side, is this rotation. I'm actually going to show you a modification to make it even more intense. By using the block, I can push myself up a little more and can guide that hip down into that rotation to get that nice capsule stretch on the left side of my hip. Now again, I'm not even holding these for too long, just about 3 breaths each position, but you're gonna see how even just this brief routine, by getting all these different components of the hip loosened up, we're gonna get huge gains. Now this is the Jefferson stretch. So this is a segmental mobility stretch. You wanna use some weight with this, but the most important thing is to not use too much weight. You only need to use as much as you need to gain a stretch, okay? It's not like the more weight you have, the better off you are. You don't need to be using an 80-pound dumbbell or anything, because then you're gonna be really just engaging your muscles rather than staying loose and relaxed. Now, as we go through this second one, you're gonna see, and I'll talk you through the motion a little bit more. So you'll notice it starts with my head. We're working segment by segment. So the neck flexes, the the thoracic spine flexes, and then we get down into lumbar and we get that really deep stretch. Now in these first two, you'll notice I'm going to keep my head down, just trying to keep everything relaxed as I breathe into this position. If you have wonderful, wonderful mobility with this, it's great to stand. You can stand on a couple yoga blocks or any type of ledge to allow yourself to go deeper. I just kind of adjust my hand positioning on the weight, so that way the weight's not touching the ground, so I'm still getting the benefit of the weight. Now with this one, you'll notice I'm going to kind of look up at the end. If you start to feel like any tingling or numbness in your feet or anything, you want to take some of that neural tension out of there's the head lift. Take it out of the body by lifting the head. That can reduce some of the neural tension that you might be creating with this stretch. So you want to, if you can, keep your neck flexed. But if you do have tingling or numbness or anything, lift the head up at the bottom of the movement, but then reset before you come back. So even on the way up, we're doing segment by segment, okay? Now this is our last stretch. This is the big one before we go into our comparison. So this is going to be really working on those adductors or the inner groin muscles. So I like to keep my legs straight to start and back as flat. I like to have a little bit of a weight behind me so that way I can add into that stretch and pull myself a little bit deeper. Again, just enough weight to pull in. We also want to work with the legs bent. Because of the different attachment points of the different muscles, working this with the legs bent is going to hit a different muscle group. So we have a leg straight and a leg bent version. They will definitely feel different to you. You'll notice I'm going to go side to side with this as well so I can get more movement with it. This is more realistic for what we're looking for when we're climbing, because we'll find ourselves in these really stretched out positions, but we're going to need to move with it. Now, as I come back up, I straighten my legs out and I go a little bit wider because we're getting even deeper into the stretch now. Control this down, hinging at the hip until you allow yourself to kind of round down and increase that stretch. So again, we'll do this with the legs straight. So you'll see me going left to right with the legs straight, and we'll do the bent leg version as well. This is going to really open up the hips. Will hopefully get you reaching out for those long feet while staying balanced and in control. Now you see we have the bent leg version again. Very different stretch. Very good to work on though. A little bit easier sometimes on the knees for people. You'll feel more of a muscular stretch like in the groin rather than at the knees compared to the straight leg version. We'll go left to right one more time. Then we'll come up, take a nice deep breath, and we'll do our check to see how we did. All right, so we finished that little routine, less than 10 minutes. Got a little warm up in, got all these wonderful stretches in. Let's see how we did. I wasn't at the floor before. Now my knuckles are on the floor. My legs are still straight, so I'm not cheating. Just wonderful improvements in the hamstring length. Let's look at that squat. Now I was already pretty good on this, but I don't feel limited here, like I'm fighting for balance. I feel comfortable in this position now. And look at the width difference. So I'm getting towards the end of my yoga mat here compared to where I started with, not even quite near the edges. So in that little bit of time, we gained a lot of mobility, and now we can go to our Kung Fu classes or climb, whichever you're here for. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it helps you get more mobile, and happy climbing. Let's get flexible, flexible. That should be the intro. Full intro, part intro, follow-up intro. Full intro means I have to say my whole name. Full intro is like, welcome to Hooper's Beta, I'm this person. Partial intro is saying I'm this person. Short is just like, this is it, welcome back, this is a follow-up. Yeah, okay, all right, fine. Let's go ahead, I'm gonna have to do it. Oh, you're laughing, I almost started. And you can apply some of it that works for you to your, it was okay. I know, I was losing my words. Welcome back to the channel, I should just say welcome back to Hooper's Beta. Good?
I think it could be even shorter. because I don't think you necessarily need to say like some stuff, you know?
Okay. Now, we're gonna do in the future, we're so perfectionists now. So now I just have to do it all.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Jason, they're still watching.
Oh. Heyo.
Dude, say something cool so they like the videos and subscribe for more awesome content.
Like and subscribe for more super sweet vids, y'all.
So lame, dude. So lame.
I thought it was pretty good.